let's consider something else for a moment, if we may. It's something that I've been saying for the past few days. Did the Republicans actually lose? There are places in history where nations, generals, whatever, have risked everything on one battle, one throw of the dice. Gettysburg comes to mind. Everybody told Robert Lee that this was not the place for him to fight his decisive battle. The North already held the high ground. And Robert Lee is reported to have said, we are going to decide this thing here, now, once and for all. There are other instances. If you consider the desperate gambit of the Wehrmacht in December of 1944 in what became known as the Battle of the Bulge. One last desperate throw. And though they inflicted considerable damage in both instances, they both lost, both the Wehrmacht and the South. Because while it looked like hell yawning open, they didn't have the impetus to get it done. I'm probably the only person saying this, but I believe the Republican Party lost last night. Why? Well, I'll tell you. Because no matter how many times President Obama says it was about the economy, no matter how many times the various and sundry for-profit media say that it was about the economy, no matter how many papers, no matter how many bloggers, no matter how many teabaggers say it was about the economy or the Constitution, it wasn't. We are almost 2 years into the Obama presidency. They are 2 years that have been lived in absolute misery by the right-wingers, the bigots, the fascists, the racists. More than anything else, this was a referendum. This was a desperate one throw of the dice gamble to try to remove the President of the United States from office before his term was out. That's how Republicans roll. They had to have the House, and they had to have the Senate. If they had had both, I guarantee you before the end of 2011, they would have removed Barack Obama from office. But, Bob, what could they charge him with? Who cares? They'd make it up. They're Republicans. This wasn't about the economy. This wasn't about their beloved Constitution. This was about getting that brown guy out of their White House. And they failed. I tell you. And this isn't a matter of old Bob just sitting around trying to come up with some way to make happy talk out of a bad thing. Last night was bad. We're grown-ups here. We can say that. But the fact of the matter is, they didn't win. And we need to understand, first and foremost, that they didn't win because they are not going to be able to remove the President of the United States from office, because that is what they would have sought to do. There are reasons for this. They know that if they had had President Biden, they'd have been okay with that, because they can beat him in 12. Right now, there is not a single human being in the Republican Party who can beat Barack Obama in 2012. Willard Romney? Sarah Palin? Come on, Newt Gingrich even? No. There's one guy out there and one guy only, and his name is Jeb Bush, and he would much rather run against Joe Biden than Barack Obama. They did not win because they could not remove They do not have the power at this point to remove the President of the United States from office, which I swear to God, as sure as God made little green apples and they give you a bellyache when you eat too many of them, is what they wanted to do. Because this isn't about the economy. This isn't about anything except the Republican Party represents a stratum of this society that still hates brown people. It really is that simple. And the only thing that scares me out of all of this is what I read from Harry Reid this morning. Well, you're certainly ready to compromise. Really? If the House impeaches Barack Obama, will you compromise by letting them remove him from office, Harry? Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I hope there's a power struggle for leadership in the Senate. You know what? This is one of those moments from The Godfather. This is the part where Tom gets replaced because they need a wartime you need a wartime consigliere when you go to the mattresses. Because that much is true. We will have to go to the mattresses. But we also need to, and you know, you got to wonder if the for-profit media will now become quiet and complacent, as they usually do when confronted by Republicans in power. Is anybody going to ask every day? Is there going to be somebody there to ask Eric, I Like Britney Spears Cantor, and Pumpkinhead Boner when they're going to start issuing their proposals for all the programs they intend to cut so that they can balance the budget? Is anybody going to be there to ask Rand Paul that, libertarian ophthalmologist that he is, every day? You know, we said we'd hold the Democrats' feet to the fire. The only problem is the Democrats didn't want their feet held to the fire. Well, let's find out. Maybe it's the Republicans who need their feet held to the fire. You know, they've said that they are going to tear this. What did Caribou Barbie say? They said they're going to tear this government limb by limb. Well, you know what? I think we ought to encourage them to do their damnedest. You know, stand to, McDuff. Lead on, McDuff, and cursed be he who first cries enough. But the thing is, they don't want to. That's all just BS that they pump out there for their little oatmeal dribbling faithful. The Republican Party only wanted what the Republican Party always wants. All in the world they want, back to the Godfather metaphors, is to dip their beaks. Or to go to the hillbilly metaphor, all they want to do is get their front feet and their back feet in the trough. They're no good at wielding power. We know that. But they are very good at thievery. And they hope that, and you see, that's the thing. The teabagging financing is going to dry up. All that Americans for Prosperity and all the Crossroads garbage and so forth, it's going to dry up for a little bit. Because you know what? The last thing the Republican Party wants is a whole bunch of pissed-off, ignorant white people screaming at them about repealing the 14th Amendment and blah, blah, blah. And yada. They don't want to do any of that. They just want to steal the silverware and carry out the TV. That's why the Republican Party exists. Will it be gridlock? Maybe. But then again, you got to remember that Harry Reid wants to compromise. Because that's what Harry does best.